Good morning. This is BBC News with the latest headlines. The UK is officially suffering its biggest recession on record. The fall in output caused by the coronavirus pandemic is thought to be one of the worst among major economies.
The plan's going well. Oh, look at that ugly bastard. Who gave birth to that fucking cunt? I mean, who the fuck is he? He knows what's going down. With all his smiles.
Students in England may be able to use their mock exam scores if they're unhappy with their A-level grades ahead of results being released tomorrow.
We are just leaving no stone unturned.
Economy's all fucked.
Sure that every student, in whatever circumstances, gets.
And he's fucking coming on with his fucking smiles.
What we've now got is a system which clearly is not looking fit for purpose. The government itself is clearly acknowledging that by announcing more and more changes to it.
And you can get in touch with me about any of today's
none of it's fit for purpose.
Twitter, using my handle.
Been a fucking joke from word go.
Or using the hashtag BBC Your Questions. Senator Kamala Harris makes history after she's named as Joe Biden's presidential running mate, the first black woman
Pervert Joe Biden.
vice president. As New Zealand's largest city is put back into lockdown, experts investigate whether coronavirus could have re-entered the country through freight shipments. And many parts of the UK experienced dramatic thunderstorms overnight, with some comparing it to being in the tropics.
How can something like that hit the headline news? Some of what the world does itself, what you can't solve, just a bit of thunder, eh? Big agendas going on in this fucking world. Major big agendas, what we're not being told in the cover of a fucking storm. You know what I'm saying?
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to BBC News. I'm Anita McVeigh. The coronavirus pandemic has now officially pushed the UK into recession for the first time in more than a decade. Figures published by
Agenda
the
30, love.
Statistics
Agenda 30.
show that economic
wake up, you silly bitch.
By gross domestic product,
you're reading out fucking a hoax.
20.4% between April and June.
I
The
can't.
ONS says the economy bounced back in June as government restrictions on movement.
A global fucking plan
but the data
by world
indicates
leaders.
The slump is one of the biggest among advanced economies.
That's what they all signed up to.
Preliminary estimates. Shadow Chancellor Annalisa Dodds described the figures as a tragedy, while the Chancellor Rishi Sunak said the figures confirmed that hard times were here.
What we're grappling with is something that is unprecedented, and we've
unprecedented. They love that word. Look at the smile on his face, you know. What we're grappling with, unprecedented.
Predict the exact path of the economy, or to know exactly.
I mean, who the fuck put him in fucking Parliament? I didn't vote for the cunt.
I've been prepared to put aside ideology and dogma at the beginning of this crisis and do what I believe.
You've got this fucking cunt pulling the strings on your life.
Incomes and businesses through what is an unprecedented and difficult time, and I think we've done.
Amazing, isn't it, how they all get elected and get chucked in?
Last month was a significant.
Something to do with Parliament, and yet you don't elect these people. They're just fucking selected by the dark side.
Kickstart scheme to support young people who are particularly badly affected by this. Or
no pun intended.
Or our Eat Out to Help Out initiative to help drive the recovery and protect 2 million jobs in hospitality. We're going to keep doing everything we can to protect people's jobs at what is a very difficult and uncertain time.
The Chancellor speaking just a short while ago. Well, let's talk now to our business correspondent, Katie Prescott. Morning to you, Katie. We'd all priced in that the news was going to be bad, hadn't we? But you know, how bad is it? Put it in context.
No, you didn't. You didn't know. You didn't guess it would be that bad. It's us like who knew what were coming
we've got used to
and know the whole scam.
Through this
You know it's fucking bad.
But this is absolutely extraordinary, even though it's what economists predicted.
Fear no virus, fear the government.
2008 financial crisis. We were talking about contractions in growth, economic growth shrinking over 3 months by about 2%, and this is 20%. So it is a massive, so it is a massive hit to the economy. Now, in terms of where it sits globally, it's about double what other major nations are seeing, what other nations in the G7. So America, for example, has seen a contraction of 10.5%, Germany about the same, Spain is sort of second only to the UK. And that, people think, really is because the UK went into lockdown slightly later and for slightly longer. We're also extremely dependent on the services sector, and of course, with the restrictions
Should never have gone in
place,
fucking lockdown.
that is one area of the economy that really has been suppressed. And so those are the reasons really that they think the UK has suffered more.
Lock a fucking country down for a fucking cold day.
Coming up, some more detail on when the economy was
Never
really
in your
starting to
fucking
dip.
worst nightmares you would have believed this would
The
happen.
real low point for the economy, and I remember breaking that.
And we're still living in a
figure.
nightmare.
It was quite staggering, dropping by 20%. As things started.
Like what you've said, Natty, who leaves comments on my channels.
What happened in June?
It's not very nice going out watching all the fucking idiots mashed up and gagged up and whatever else.
Low base, so we need to put it into perspective. And what we're really
You don't feel like you want
now is
fucking be going
what
out to
happens
shops
going
anymore.
forward? When will we start to come out of this economic downturn? The Bank of England think it'll be the end of next year before we see returns to levels of growth that were before the pandemic.
And I think we've got another
Before the
showing
pandemic.
that recovery.
She needs to put HOAX on the end of that.
Slightly caught before horse.
Yes, you can really see that
This is showing when the dip is happening.
It's incredible to see it to see it looking like that. It does show the depth.
What's
of
funny
it.
then?
As I say, economists now are
It's
trying
incredible to see it looking like that. What's fucking funny? The economy's fucked up.
And what the restrictions did to
Stupid
businesses
bitch.
is what happens next that's going to be really important.
Let's talk about this though, Katie, because lots of people will be asking this morning, what does this mean for them? What does it mean for the cost of living, for mortgages, savings, etc., etc.? What can we say about that?
It's interesting because I think a lot of people will know that we're in recession already because they will have felt it. You know, jobs, for example, I think is going to be one of the things that people are going to really feel. Unemployment levels, we think, are going to rise. The Bank of England says they could almost double by the
Yeah.
end of the year.
Oh, yeah. They want government want you
That's something I
become
think people
dependent
will
on them,
really
dependent
start
on
to
the
worry
state.
about is the furlough scheme.
Please help us, please help
Private
us.
sector jobs starts to be unravelled in October.
And then
We are
retain,
already seeing big
you give up
companies
your
laying off
fucking
workers.
liberties and
Devon, for example,
freedoms.
laying off 2,500 people yesterday. So it's that sort of consumer confidence, I think, that people will really start to feel, and that concern
For your safety.
that those economic issues.
And just briefly, Katie, the uncertainties. You know, what
People have been
happens
doing
with
that year in, year out for the
winter,
past
winter.
Indeed,
20
and
years.
for businesses, you know, whether these restrictions will come back again. We saw in the ONS data today, businesses
As I
are
know
still
of.
not operating at full capacity. It's very hard
All
to
these
do so with
fucking
things
terror
like social distancing
incidences.
measures in place. And if that unlocking
Keep
can't
us safe,
happen,
government,
it's
keep us
impossible for
safe,
economies
keep
to
us
get back to
safe.
normal.
Okay.
More and more of your
Thank you
freedoms
very
each year gets
much.
eroded.
And
And you
just
don't
to let
even
we'll have
fucking
more,
know it.
on
You're that
interview with
fucking
Rishi
thick
Sunak coming
as a
up for you
society.
this morning, as well as talking to the senior European economist at Legal and General. For
One
more
example's
analysis
fucking them
on
big
these
blocks
latest figures.
being put up everywhere.
Now, our other big story today. Just
You know, like the
24
end of
hours
the
before
fucking
A-level
London
results
Bridge.
For England are published.
That's
Ministers
another
have moved to avert a
move
backlash by telling
on your
people they're
freedom.
happy with their grades.
And it's not
They
nice
may
to
be
see
able
big
to
blocks,
use
is
their
it?
mock exam results instead. The Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson,
After that
has
phony van
announced what he called a
supposed to
safe
gone
year
over a bridge,
for
ploughing
A-level,
people over.
BTEC
Remember that one?
and GCSE students unhappy with their official grades. This so-called triple lock
Dummy lying
means
at back of a
pupils can
fucking
accept
bus
the
under
grade
wheels.
they get based on teacher estimations, or change it for a mark gained.
That
in a
woman
mock
what supposed to
exam.
fucking jumped off
Or
bridge
they can
or
instead
was
choose to retake the exam, take it in the first place,
rammed and then
in the autumn.
knocked off the bridge.
Teachers have attacked the last-minute change.
Try and find that footage and slow it down.
It comes after ministers in Scotland had to apologise
Like a fucking
for announcing
torpedo
a
hitting the
upgrade in
fucking
results
water.
there. Let's get more now from our education
CGI.
correspondent, Dan Johnson.
With exam halls standing silent this summer, the life chances of a generation were instead to be determined by
In fact, I'll try and find the video. I'm sure I downloaded it. I'll give it a go uploading it and hope it don't get took down and slow it down.
Listen to the worries of those
The fucking body ended up being the length of the fucking one of the bridge pillars. That's impossible.
Not going to be a true representation of what I would have been capable of had I sat the exams.
Because I'm not applying for university and taking a gap year, that I'll have very limited opportunities, and next year's universities won't take me in.
My
Covering a lot of exams in schools at the minute, aren't they, on the news? Now they're all asked about fucking kids' schools.
Scottish students
Kids getting back to school.
75,000 had their results downgraded last week.
Shows what sheep all them are. Though, look, most of them mashed up. Why couldn't you protest without a mask?
Reinstated the original estimate.
Get us back in school. Oh no, don't protest saying fucking stop gagging us.
Ensure that it was credible, but we did not get it right for all young people. Before I go any
So
further,
they want a new
I'd like to
generation of
apologise
fucking
for that.
sleeping idiots.
Yeah, it makes a big difference now going forward because I can just focus on schoolwork.
All the
this year,
fucking sane,
and
decent brains they've
university.
just fucking
While,
eliminated in
being
nursing
very
homes.
proud of my results in the past, it's really motivated me for this year.
And with that, putting Scottish results over.
Spoke to a carer yesterday who I've known for some years.
Last year, there were calls for
And
the
funny
same to
enough,
apply to students in the rest of the UK.
I mentioned about what was going on and everything and that, and she even said, I believe they've been getting rid of old folk in nursing homes. So that's what she told me.
Inequality, and it was the right move, and I hope to see that reflected.
I was surprised to hear her say that.
Last night, officials in Northern Ireland promised broader grounds.
Yet again, though.
And students in England will now face
10 minutes into the conversation, just what you itching for get off from me because it's just the topic's just too much.
To sit an exam in the autumn or appealing to get the
I
results.
seem to bore people when they go on about all this. What's going on?
These are major last-minute changes.
It's just people who are just pure sheep. No, my life's all right. My life's all right. I'm in my bubble. I am. Doesn't affect me. What's going on affects every single person on the fucking planet.
Let's talk now to our political correspondent, Jonathan Blake at Westminster. Morning to you, Jonathan. 11th hour changes. What's the reaction been?
Yes, this is a significant change, and I think it reflects concern in government about what happened in Scotland and the crisis that unfolded
He was
there.
on yesterday. Now they put him on again.
Willingness to do what they possibly can to head off a similar situation unfolding when results come for A-level students tomorrow and GCSE students next week in England and Wales and Northern Ireland as well, of course. And that's why we had the Education Secretary for England, Gavin Williamson, making this announcement last night that mock exam grades could be the basis for an appeal made by a school on behalf.
Well, I'll tell you something, it'll be fucking disgusting, won't it, if they send them back and they've all got to wear face coverings in school.
Are awarded, and the school's minister
One of the comments
has
said that's what he believes
defending the government's
is going to happen.
and saying that this will be a safety net for only
All in the fucking bubbles, distanced. Walk in your classroom, go like a fucking snake up and down the fucking aisles of the seats and chairs instead of walking straight to your seat. Honestly, I couldn't believe it when I witnessed that on one video.
Being disadvantaged by this system.
Walk in, walk down in front of you and back up like fucking snakes and ladders just to get to his seat at the other end.
In normal times, let alone in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic when no students have actually sat there.
Don't know how humanity can sit back and even watch fucking that type of shit. I think it's normal. Well, mind you though, it is, ain't it? Don't forget, that's what we're being told. The new normal.
Throwing away the futures of an entire generation.
Fucking abnormal with capital letters.
Labour say that it doesn't go far enough and the system is at risk.
Well, they can take piss out of the public because we allow it. It's as simple as that. Compliance is give the government the first gear to carry on. That's what I think.
Is not looking
really
for purpose. The government itself is clearly acknowledging that by announcing more and more changes to it.
And you're running your fucking house and Boris Johnson said, get in your houses, don't come out, lockdown. Everyone went and did it. Absolute compliance.
Now it's worth saying that whilst this
gullible, obedient sheep.
It seems as if the government has confidence.
And they were sat in the room waiting for that to happen. I bet you're all having clapping their hands, laughing over a fucking brew and a fucking spliff. Johnson and his fucking government fucking people rubbing their hands, saying, yeah, there you go. We've got the green light, let's carry on.
But it's a bit of further uncertainty for students who are expecting their results tomorrow or next week, and some questions to answer still about how exactly that appeals process will work. And just quickly to remind people that this change applies in England. A similar change has come in Northern Ireland relating to mock exam grades, but there'll be no changes at this stage to the grading system in Wales.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you very much. You've been getting in touch with me about this story.
Hope you didn't find me graveyard video boring. I just thought I'd
says, so students can appeal
record while I was sat there eating my chips.
Exam grade boundaries across schools aren't consistent. Are they going to be standardised across subjects and exam boards?
Give you an insight to my personality as well, I suppose, don't it?
International baccalaureate exams.
I'm a bit of a quiet sort of guy, keep myself to myself.
Have been forgotten in this fiasco, she says, and are now.
And often go sitting out in quiet, have quiet moments like that.
Her uni offers. Thank you for getting in touch. Well,
but what I would like to see is an appeal system in which everyone who feels that their grades are unfair, through their school, through the head teacher signing it off, are able to appeal, and that there is a very quick turnaround.
Too right, they should be able to appeal.
I don't want to dwell on this point too much.
If all these fucking foreigners can come in country and have fucking 20 appeals,
reaction, doesn't it, in response to what's happened in Scotland?
Why shouldn't you be able to appeal to your fucking grades of your exams?
That the appeal system is widened, so as long as it's happened
Takes the piss, doesn't it?
I would have rather it happened earlier, but at least it's happened, and that hopefully will give.
Anyway, that's another fucking story. I don't think you should be able to appeal whatsoever.
Wider appeal system, and of course should have published
whether you should fucking stay in this country.
Some weeks ago.
You know, all anyone can ask for in this is accuracy and fairness. And what guarantee is there? Even
where do you draw the line where you say no if you can have fucking multiple appeals, whether you can stay in country?
How can an appeal based on mock results
that's fucking just a laughing stock in itself, isn't it?
Across the board.
Well, to be fair to the government, we're in a state of national emergency because of the coronavirus, and any system developed, which happened in a matter of weeks, although there was a fair bit of consultation.
We're in a state of emergency.
Flaws, and it will be.
You see no emergency around you, though, are you?
As possible, and the indications I've had from the Department of Education.
Don't know if anyone of you know, but I have mentioned in a video. I'd heard that ambulances were ordered to drive around with lights going, and sometimes with the sirens going, even though they're not even going to an emergency.
Weeks on end for results
to make it look like
very quickly so they can make
Britain is in a fucking panic. How fucking disgusting is that?
Will that appeal system work?
Well, it will work through the schools. The schools will appeal through Ofqual. I'm worried that the appeal system will favour
got a paramedic who lives next door but one to me.
Sharp-elbowed and well-heeled. So
dropped an hint over the fence the other day, just saying hello, like saying hi.
If you know how to work through.
I says I walked through Mac Hospital
then you might get a better appeal system.
A couple of days ago. This was last week.
For everyone, whatever their background, especially
I says,
disadvantaged.
where's the her name's Mandy? I said, where's this war zone, Mandy? Pardon? He says, where's this war zone? I said, we've been told on news. We're in a war zone. There's that many COVID patients getting took in Mac Hospital, people dropping like flies. I said, it was quiet as a mouse, I never saw no fucker.
Yes, and I do.
All corridors were quiet. I said, you had staff knocking about. We said, even with no masks on. She said, oh, they're all down the down C ward, something like that. I thought, yeah, that's all she fucking said. Didn't let nothing else out of the bag.
Very quick, the exam board should turn it round.
I thought, yeah, they're not all fucking dying of fucking COVID neither.
Rather than months, so that.
At Legal and General Investment Management. Hetzel, good morning to you. Thank you very much for your time today. So we know the definition of what recession is, but what does it really mean to be in recession, both on a macro level, I guess, and a micro level?
So I think it's been all around us to see that the normal activity that we would go about.
What the fuck does someone like her know?
It's very abrupt. Halt, quite a big change.
About fucking what's going on in the world.
Kind of day-to-day level,
not a fucking wrinkle on her face.
Things that we would do, the kind of
put some fucker on who's been on this earth long enough and understands fucking what the fuck's going down.
In terms of the way we had to behave as economic agents.
Have you noticed as well, folks? Where's the white people going who read the news? What's happening to the white people?
The effects, we've seen monthly data.
See more and more of this, more and more and more. Don't know if you've noticed.
It confirms what we already knew in terms of the technical recession. I think what's really
Getting rid of the white
important is how
people now, are
quickly
they?
we can actually start to recover.
That's the best way you can
And
put
on
it.
that front, I think there are going to be a number of headwinds
Without
that
being
really
accused of
prevent us
fucking
from getting back
racism.
to the pre-virus
Just for
levels.
fucking asking a
Yes,
question.
there are so many uncertainties, aren't there, ahead? And we'll come back to that in a minute, but I'd like to get your thoughts on why, in terms of the UK's economic performance, it is among the worst of
Yeah, I know
major
she's
economies.
white, but you know what I'm saying, don't you?
So I think a large part of that was that we
You're still going to get the odd white person, but you know what I'm saying?
If you look at the
There's
second
more and more and more
quarter-on-quarter
non-white
GDP
fucking
growth was
newsreaders
one of
or
the
people who
worst
they're having
amongst
on,
major European economies.
having something
We
to
had
do
more
with the
of our
news.
lockdown in the second quarter, so other countries started in the first quarter, and therefore we're
You
able
think we
to
don't
come out of
fucking
it a little bit
notice?
faster as well. So that's I think the
I
large
fucking
part of
noticed.
it. But also
The UK got its timing wrong, basically.
I noticed every time they have a group of people talking about any subjects, they have to have
if you like, when we have economic
one of every fucking, you know, one of most, well, you know, like Chinese,
So in terms of locking
Pakistani,
down
white. Can't just have a circle of white people or a circle of black people. It's got to be all different fucking religions.
Will continue to argue that for quite a long time.
Do you think you don't fucking notice?
In terms of the virus cycle, and therefore the lockdown did happen a bit later, and so it's more.
It's all about fucking the bullshit racism.
Data cut-off.
People calling out the fucking racism card.
Is it Q1 ending?
Oh, there's a circle of 5 people there.
So I think that's part of.
Where's the Iraqi woman?
As the
That's
furlough
fucking
scheme comes
racist.
to an end, and as you already alluded to, with so much uncertainty still ahead in terms of, how much of the virus is going to be around.
There is
how
fucking
long
dickheads
do you
who'll
think it's
fucking
going
ring
to
in
take
or
for the UK to
email
regain
in or
its
something and fucking
pre-COVID
moan over shit like that.
trajectory? I mean, perhaps
There is really
you
sad
wouldn't
people
hazard
out
a
there
guess
like
at this
that.
point.
So economists kind of do, is it an occupational hazard? You try and have a guess at these things. I personally think that it's going to take quite a while. We won't even recover back to the pre-COVID levels by the end of next year. So we have a number of headwinds, as mentioned, the furlough scheme ending, the end of the VAT cuts, stamp duty cuts. All of
That's
these
when you'll
things
start
are
seeing
going to
fucking
head
demising
early
folks'
next
fucking
year. And then on
spirit.
top of that, we will have a different trading
Furlough
relationship
scheme
with the
ending, no
UK
fucking work go
as
back
well.
to.
And I think as we saw a bit of a snapshot from the business investment numbers today, very weak business investment.
Can only
That
push fucking
uncertainty is
suicide rates
likely
through the roof,
to
can't it?
really kind of prevent us from getting
Let's
back
see
to
the
that
fucking
pre-crisis
statistics on
level.
fucking suicide.
I think even next year.
Oh, they won't show us that.
We think there will be an element of economic scarring. Banks are likely to suffer some losses on the loans that they've had to make to businesses, and that is going to prevent the economy getting back.
Okay, Hetal, thank you very much for your thoughts on all of that this morning. Hetal Mehta, Senior European Economist at Legal & General Investment Management. Now, officials in New Zealand are reportedly investigating whether or not the coronavirus could have re-entered the country through freight shipments. It comes as the country's largest city, Auckland,
Could
has been
have.
put back into lockdown after.
Oh, so they put it all in lockdown because in case it could have.
2 days. The 4 new cases
So they
are all
put
members of
draconian
families
measures
that
on their own
had
people.
travelled recently.
Based on could
Bars,
haves,
restaurants and schools
would
there
haves,
had
should
been
haves,
closed and workers
all possibilities.
to stay at home. Well, for more, let's speak to our correspondent Shaima Khalil in Sydney. Hello to you, Shaima. I think we should say certainly the family hadn't travelled abroad. They had travelled a bit in New Zealand, I understand, but after 100.
So some Australia's getting it fucking bad, aren't they?
This is hugely disappointing.
8 o'clock
Tell
fucking
us more
curfew.
about the investigation into
What the fuck's that
how
all
and
about?
why these new cases might have emerged.
I think that's what's concerning the
8 o'clock curfew for a fucking virus.
is the fact that up until now they haven't really.
7:59 you're alright, but 8 o'clock if you go out through your door, virus might attack you.
Would likely be detected. They're zeroing in.
No one spots how ludicrous that is.
One of the family members who tested positive had worked, and they're doing.
Can you believe people on this earth exist
investigations because they
who can't
as you say,
notice?
The virus, this infection might.
Ludicrous when it hits you in the face.
But up until now, it's still under investigation, still unconfirmed. I think the second bit that's really worrying health officials as well is, as you mentioned, that 2 of the family members had travelled away from Auckland into Rotorua.
Look at that fucking shit.
Town, very, very
How
popular
the fuck? What? A virus that can't go round that piece of fucking perspex on her face now. A virus can't go round that.
Find out exactly where they've been.
What utter fucking garbage, honestly.
Have been told to remain vigilant. The whole of the city of Auckland.
I've seen people in my local fucking town walking around with shit like that on.
I'd say that, the big picture, of course, is that New Zealand
believing it's going to save their life.
Than any other country. These numbers on a global scale are
believing there's actually a virus out there what's going to kill them.
Hugely disappointing for a country that's seen by many as leading.
Got more chance of getting fucking knocked over by a bus.
Virus and controlling it for a very long time, but at one point actually eliminating it, and that's why they've gone into this strict lockdown in Auckland to try and get those cases under control.
So how, Shaima, are people reacting to this, to these new restrictions, given that for the last 102 days...
Don't forget that's all for show, folks.
As normal, as the rest of us would love to be.
Well, exactly, and I think that's what the authorities and the Prime Minister has warned against when they marked that 100 days with no COVID-19 cases. They actually warned against complacency. I think generally there is a general sense of shock, of disappointment, that as they say, people have been living normally, and now they've been told to stay at home, stay within their bubbles, but they do recognise the
stay within your bubble.
Because New Zealand, throughout the pandemic, the motto has been go in, go early.
Fuck me, the elite certainly planned this one out, didn't they?
This is really what people recognise.
All these fucking words.
They did think that those days were behind.
Social distancing.
Get this under control.
2 meters.
They have to go within the restrictions. They're now up
bubble.
At the end of Friday. So
unprecedented.
And the extension or the easing of the restrictions
all buzzwords.
On whether the health authorities know the source of the infection with those positive cases.
What people latch onto.
Thank you very much for that update, Shaima Khalil in Sydney. Let me just tell you that at 12:30 this afternoon we'll be answering your questions on